I slow down and I realize that it is a vehicle driving on a flat, trying to get out of the beater, as most people would do. So, not wanting to spook or panic the person, I drive forward. I'm about 100 meters from their car, and I pull over. I put on my hazards too. As they're coming forward, I going forward. So they realize I'm not waiting on them to rob them or do them any wrong. So when I finally stopped, they say they figured out that I was there to assist. And I was there calling the police, 999, and getting a constant recording. You have reached police emergency. Now come on. If I've reached police emergency, why would I be on hold for so long? Why would it take so long for me to get through to police emergency? It is ridiculous. It is stupid. We pay for all of that. When the woman finally answered, with all due respect to her, I said I'm shadowing a car that's driving on a flat in the westerly direction of the beater. There's nothing more you need to know. You don't need to know license number, make of vehicle, none of that. There will not be more than one. If there's more than one, you'll pick up with both, but you will clearly see the vehicle as in distress. I think that our emergency response is in a terrible condition. This is not the first time that I have had to try and assist somebody and had to encounter a police emergency system that doesn't work. It does not work. You'll eventually get through if you're still alive. But the name of the word is emergency. And they're supposed to be able to answer you in quick time. Anyway. So, crabs in a barrel and black rums matter is the name of the show tonight. Generally, I don't get involved in small things. I might pass a comment at something that is a small issue. And on the surface of it, this is a small issue. But it hides a much bigger issue. And it is because it hides a much bigger issue, I had to touch on this. Because big terms are being thrown about. Columbusing. What I tell you, I love that. I love that the media could publish the word Columbusing in inverted commas. Columbusing. We're touching on that, you know. Write it down so I don't forget. These days I have a pen and a paper. It's so much thing. But the other thing was cultural appropriation. That's a big term they pelt out there. I want to add another term. Irony. I'm going to show you why. Thief from thief does make God laugh. First, show you this. Now I've shared the video, and I'm assuming that everybody watching the video or sharing the video. In fact, I can't get into the meat of the thing till we cross 1,000. So, somebody just wrote me and asked me, "Hi, good night. Just some information. Carrie Brewery has been in operation all through the pandemic. Are they essential?" Yes, of course. In a country where, come on, man. All you have to know by now, all you surrender your rights a long time ago. You only take your $500 and your jazzy, and your ham sandwich and your orchard juice for your vote. Where you thought you was going to get, besides coughing your face and kicking your head? Where you thought you was buying or selling for that $500? Somebody said they would like to join the live. They got my number from a good friend of theirs. Here's the link. I'm waiting for it to cross 1,000. We still at 680. We can't go nowhere. We have plenty of things to talk about. Somebody messaged me, full 100. Brother, I wish you there. Boy, Philip, I reading my WhatsApps while I wait. If you have not yet shared the video, please share it. Because I want to discuss these serious issues. This person here said, Phil, you made my day with your video, Grand COVID hoax. I could have shed a tear. Everything you said is so on point. Thank you for that, Grand Heikel. Thank you for that. Now, 7:43. We're taking a while to get to that 1,000 today, but we're moving like a Cortina, trying to drive uphill. Ford Cortina, fix or repair daily. Talking about emergency services. Remember I said my uncle got a stroke and was admitted to San Fernando General Hospital? A relative took my uncle to San Fernando General. So the relative wanted to come home as it was approaching curfew time. He tried calling the emergency curfew hotline for 2 hours to explain the situation to maybe get clearance to go back home. Nobody answered the emergency curfew hotline for the 2 hours. The relative ended up spending the night with my uncle at San Fernando General till 5 a.m. All because the police emergency curfew hotline was not answering. I shame to be Trini, you know. Shame. A shame, boy. When I tell you a shame. 770. Gavi representative confirms Trinidad and Tobago won't be benefiting from 500 million US vaccine donation. So once again, the double-tongued deceiver, the man with two tongues in his mouth, Keith Rowley, used a public press conference to lie to you. The Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, has confirmed that Trinidad and Tobago does not qualify for a share of the 500 million vaccines promised by the United States to the COVAX facility. A representative from the body that handles the COVAX facility confirmed this last week after the media sought clarification on whether Trinidad and Tobago would be getting any of the vaccines which are meant only for donor-funded countries. Trinidad and Tobago is a self-financing participant of the COVAX facility, and as you will be able to see in our statement, the doses will be made available to 92 economies eligible for donor-funded vaccines via the Gavi COVAX Advanced Market Commitment, as well as member states of the African Union, the Gavi representative said in a statement. On June 10th, US President Joe Biden announced the donations which Gavi welcomed. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley also referred to the vaccines promised by the US during Saturday's COVID-19 media briefing, saying that it was a promise that had not materialized yet. However, he noted that we have not seen anything come through and we don't know if we will be qualified. I got this today from a WhatsApp group of some well-heeled. The United States is out for us. We buy vaccines with a Chinese loan from China, friending with Venezuela, and have a clown as a prime minister. We now start to pay the price. We brought it on ourselves and a lot more to come. There's another comment. Our government is so out of international politics and we felt all along that we were a superpower. As the price for stupidity. Another comment. Now see how the big boys play. But focus on Juve Rum. Don't take your eye off the ball, Huey. The University of the West Indies, seems to be working hard at devaluing the education that people receive from the University of the West Indies. Your professors are doing a disservice I understand that the Bar Act is a UE professor. From the moment I heard that, I say, well, you better off going to the University of Canal, go to the University of River Moss, go to the University of Old Goat and failure, because all of that will be better than going to any university that could sit down in an interview and hire that person. Anyway, our next one, shoot at the wife and miss. Whether it was deliberate or not. 864. Slowly but surely. Labor Day Papi Show. Thank God for Corona. Ansel Roger must have thought yesterday the lockdown prevented any Labor Day parade. Or am I being naive in thinking Ansel wouldn't have had the gall to stride through Port of Spain, bellowing hollow slogans at the ghosts of oil workers whose lives he ruined? Did he do it deliberately? Did Rowley pay him to pretend he was buying Petrotrin so they could fire the workers? Or is he just a nincompoop of historic proportions? Either way, to give his former union members something to celebrate on Labor Day, Roger should have dug a hole in Faizabad, jumped in it, and covered himself over with dirt. It is the only way he could possibly be forgiven. With people like him around, you begin to understand why the Japanese invented the concept of harikiri. Idiocy can be as dangerous as corruption and should be appropriately rewarded, particularly when you've drawn a gigantic salary for years from the dues OWTU members paid because you claimed to be a professional negotiator. It goes on, but I don't have the time. Philip Alexander is the de facto opposition leader. Regardless of your thoughts on the man, good, bad, indifferent, nuisance, or whatever, without doubt, he is the de facto opposition. He alone. Every minute and hour of each day, he is in your face raising all the pertinent and relevant issues, maximizing the use of WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, and many chat forums. He gets his message across. Long before KPB can vet and rewrite her press releases, PEA would have dealt with the issue and moved on to another topic. It is best Parliament start paying Philip than those incompetent persons in opposition. You see the line where it says, regardless of your thoughts on the man, good, bad, indifferent, nuisance, or whatever, I'm in good company. There was an election in this country where the choices was a rapist, a drunk, and a thief. So, I think it's still not as bad as what people have said about the others. Trinidad and Tobago left out Barbados travel bubble program, 903. We're almost there. Trinidad and Tobago is not part of the Caribbean travel bubble expected to be instituted at the end of the month in Barbados. Over the weekend, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley announced the new travel bubble coming into effect at the end of this month for fully vaccinated travelers with negative PCR tests. Travelers from countries named in the bubble will not be required to do PCR tests or quarantine upon arrival in Barbados. However, citizens from Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Belize, Guyana, and the Bahamas were not included in this rejuvenated travel bubble. I'm reading this in my mind, I'm reading it in a Bajan accent, which means vaccinated citizens from these nations will still be tested at the Grantley Adams Airport, and unvaccinated travelers will be required to go into a 5-day quarantine. In an address to the nation on Saturday, Motley listed the countries outside the bubble and what their citizens will be required to do on entry to Barbados. But guess what? They're subjected to the same protocols that would have existed before. So if they're vaccinated persons come with a negative PCR and land at our airport, they'll have to have the second PCR test as all other vaccinated persons do now, and they'd be free to come into the country. If they are unvaccinated, you know the drill. It's a longer period. 5 days before they have the PCR test in the quarantine, Motley said. Adding that this gives layers of protection among the layers of risk. This is the second such attempt at a CARICOM travel bubble. Last September, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Commission, laid out the framework for the travel bubble and the countries in and out of the safe travel sphere. 930. Share the video, please. Once we cross 1,000, we're getting into the conversation. A major factor of that initial bubble was that citizens of the included nations were not required to take PCR or COVID-19 tests before or upon entry. These citizens are also not required to undergo any quarantine. Rowley, you're making us so proud. Now, AZP News is a newcomer to media, and people would hear me big up AZP News. And I had to buff Prior Bihari today. I'll tell you why. Because AZP News was the first to run a story about a university lecturer who shot at his wife. In this very short story, the AZP News pointed out that the person was an unsuccessful UNC candidate at election time. That had nothing to do with the story. In a country where a PNM treasurer just lost his house, his car, his wife, bra and panty. He lost everything. Boy, listen now. Rein it in, Philip. Don't let it run away from you. A PNM treasurer who tried to use Clico money to thief a public... Philip, rein it in. Rein it in. But no media in all of the broadcasts of that story remember to call him PNM treasurer. None. But an unsuccessful UNC candidate, trip on the foot, fire a shot at the wife and miss. That make it in the story. Why? Because you live in a corrupt country where media is either corrupted or dotish by design. And AZP News needs to decide if they are corrupted and accepting dirty money to pretend to be media, or if they're just dotish by design. Because him being a UNC candidate had nothing to do with the story. And if I were pressed to go into the man's life, I could find other things. He's the owner of a pit bull. He's wearing Clark shoes. His socks have holes. If I was pressed, I could go and find things more important that you could have included in the story than him being a UNC candidate. Now it's just disgusting. And it's deliberate. Columbus in. We're at 9:47. We're climbing slow, but we're climbing sure. We're like molasses going uphill. We're going to deal with cultural appropriation, UE, irony. This cultural appropriation and Columbusin come out of UE. Tonight is all about the University of the West Indies, it seems. Prior Bihari and AZP News. We don't take on Loop. Nobody takes on Loop. Loop only still publishing because it's free on the internet and they had to spend all that government money. Today, now, political combatants, people who are against for whatever reason, doesn't mean that I don't have compassion for them in times of loss. Now people will ask, but what about Franklin Kahn? Franklin Kahn was an old thief. He was a corrupt son of a bitch. Franklin Kahn is the reason Petrotrin closed down today. And Franklin Kahn, if he had done this country a favor and dropped dead 20 years earlier, we'd have still have a Petrotrin. And we wouldn't have lost $13 billion to Malcolm Jones and friends and next bandit rotting in hell, 974. I can't call the rest of them name who's still walking wrong upright because they have a PNM lawyer that outside there, once the pussy crying, he writing reaction protocol letter, a band of PNM pussies that want to thief, want to get on dirty, get on bad, say what they want about people, bribe media, and do all kind of shit in the country. But when you call the name and you expose them, oh God, he make me look bad. My wife want to go and get sex to the pool boy now because she don't lie on the bed. Philip hurt me. Nobody want to do business with the company anymore because Philip make me look like an ass. That is what they just pretend for the judge. That is the shit that is right in the pre-action protocol letter. Big hardback man. Want to be calling you all kind of thing. Brian Manning wash my name, boy. He wash out my name. And I said, man, I take it. I take it in one video. In passing, I mentioned that man name. He called the pussy lawyer, write a letter one time. Philip hurt me. And then want to go public and say, I apologize to him. They have a saying, a pit bull could beat a skunk every time. But he knows it's not worth the stink. Not every fight I am invited to, I will show up for. 1,000, here we go. Columbusin. For those of you whose WhatsApps didn't get read, I apologize. Let me see what Maxine said. Yeah, Maxine is agreeing. Right. Cultural appropriation. I'm saying it slow for the knuckle draggers and the Neanderthals that they throw that for. Come, doggy, come. So let me go with it. Cultural appropriation. And what that means? What's cultural appropriation? Let's say you are living in the Caribbean and the slave owners that have a fete every, what it is? It's 2 days before Ash Wednesday. It's before Ash Wednesday. Whatever it is. They just have a fete and they just show up for that fete. And the first part of the fete is called the opening. Juve. The opening. Juve. And you say, well, if them could do it, we could do it. You ever watch Best Village? Dance the belly, baby, dance the belly. That is them culturally appropriating, imitating Massa Wife in Massa Wife dress. That is what cultural appropriation is. When the former slaves decide that them going and do what the French Massa doing and having a party called Juve, but them couldn't pause, the mouth couldn't make the whole word. They say Juve. And Juve become a thing. And Juve is part of the carnival. No problem. We culturally appropriated the term. And we haven't the carnival before Ash Wednesday. No problem. Carry on. Do your business. Fast forward. Fast forward, Columbus. And when I tell you I love that term, I go beat them with that. Fast forward. And we at a point now where a fabulously popular actor named Michael B. Jordan decides to get into the rum business. So Michael looked around the world and he looked around to see what he could name this rum. Maybe he passed through Carnival. Maybe he talked to his partner Winston Duke, who he was in Black Panther with. The biggest movie of all times. All time. Maybe that is how he get the name. And he called the thing Juve. And instead of Trinidadians dropping to their knees and pressing their forehead to the ground to thank all the gods, thank you. And can't wait to thank Michael B. Jordan for snatching this overflowing latrine house of a country and breathing some life into us, shining some international light on us. Instead of us thanking him, instead of us waiting for the opportunity for the morning show to call with Kelly and Regis or whoever doing it now, or waiting for Oprah to mention it. Look at what I have in my 3 perfect things. A bottle of rum named Juve. I have Michael B. Jordan with me. Never in our wildest dreams could we ever, no matter how much treasury money, roll in them teeth and give to their friends who they're hiring as people to call Obama to talk to him for 5 minutes and call Trump to talk to him for 2. That we had to spend our money. This we going up in heaven. We're going up where God is. This is where Michael B. Jordan, the man massive, and with the death of Boswick, Chadwick, what's his name? With his death, fellas like Winston Duke and Michael B. Jordan going far, they're going high. There's a niche to be filled. And I'm waiting to get on my Amazon Prime. I'm waiting to get the latest movie with him. Tom Clancy, I think it's a movie or a series. So I know the man moving with massive, he up there, high, big. So imagine when they interview him. Where did the name Juve come from? Michael. Well, there's a little island in the Caribbean that has a carnival. And every carnival Monday morning, it starts with a beautiful celebration of freeing up called Juve. And I wanted to capture that spirit in this rum. And you could imagine being in Trinidad, day breaking, the sky now getting some color, music blasting, all are we nice, we had nice and we chipping, and we drinking some of this Juve rum. I want to tell you, if you never experienced carnival in Trinidad, go and try it. Brother, watch now. You could have shut down the Ministry of Tourism. You could have fired all. Because for the next 10 years, there would have been people trying to get on a plane to come here to book a room to see what Michael B. Jordan talked about. But instead of that, they kick the man in his face. They cuff him in the head. They take the little Huey learning. Because Huey learned them to talk shit. So they're talking cultural appropriation about a word that we thief. We thief Juve. We don't speak French. We culturally appropriated it. Yeah. Columbusin. Columbusin. This is reverse Columbusin. This is a man who came to take us to the first world and build our fortunes, not invade us. Nothing that he took, we own. People talking about last lap. Somebody creates something called, himself creates something called last lap, which means that Michael B. Jordan is outside there like a massive Trinidad and Tobago promotion machine. And the little Bamsi diggers in Huey want to come and kick the man in the face so the media could write Trinidadians upset. Speaking as a Trinidadian, I am not upset. Speaking as a Trinidadian who wants more for my country, I want to thank Michael B. Jordan for having the, I don't know what to say, boy, the pity, what else? At a time when America say no vaccine for you, when Barbados lock we out the travel bubble, when nobody on the planet want to deal with us except the rat-ass countries like China, Venezuela, Syria, and Iran. I have Syrian. I have Syria. If you offer me $1 million a day to live in Syria, I give all back to you. I prefer to live in Somalia. I would never want to go and live in Syria. The history of Syria is Syrians killing one another forever. And for all the excuse you could give, is the Jews financing it, is the Israelis, is the Americans, is the British, go back in time, it's the Romans, it's everybody. Or it's that Syrians just can't get along with each other. So they're forever pelting stone at one another and pushing sand in each other's eye. So I don't ever want to associate myself with Iran, with Syria, with China and Venezuela. And that's who Rowley and his bedraggled bunch of carpetbaggers have us associating with. And enter into this, clear through the Sahara dust, a lone shining figure, Michael B. Jordan, who come to say, let me lift you up. Let me lift you out of the latrine state. Let the raw sewage fall off of you. Let me wash you down, wipe you up, make you look nice and clean, and take you and sit you down in places you could never go. You could never reach. No matter what you do, you could never, ever reach there. I will take you there for free. And instead of us touching the hem of that man's pants and saying, Mike, we don't deserve it, but thank you. Thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, Mike, we cost the man, boy. We cost the man. That is why slavery went on for 300 years longer than it should have. Because people like Michael B. Jordan who come in to free us and emancipate us and take us to where we want to be, we cussing dead and fighting to hold on to the sewer, the latrine seat. Yeah. These flies, I know them well. I understand how maggots feel. I'm accustomed to this condition. You cannot free fools from the chains they revere. Trinidad doesn't want to be on Oprah. Trinidad don't want Regis, Kelly and Regis talking about us. We don't want nice people. Listen, they say Kobo can't eat sponge cake. The national bird of Trinidad and Tobago should be a freaking Kobo. And the University of the West Indies is a Kobo producing university. That's what it's for. To make we come out of there dotish and stupid and piss on our own foot for the rest of our life and boast about it. That is what we good for. That's all we good for No, I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe the Trinidadians were so stupid, so idiotic, so foolish. And I looked to the carnival because I had to, my mind wanders. And Philip, who makes all the money off the carnival? Dean Akin and Johnny Song. All the big vets. All. They used to have a fella called TriStar Promotions. He ain't black. A Mirage fella. He ain't black. Johnny Song, Dean Akin. Which radio stations makes all the money from soca? All. 94. What is 94.1? Boom Champions. Owned by Gillette. He ain't black. 96.7, 96.1, Soca Switch. Who owned that? It's no black man. Too Chinese. Chowling and Sung. Keep talking, the man. Who owned the biggest carnival bands in the country? And we're talking big, we're talking size, he buy up all, and we're talking price. Because he just sell a costume for $8, $9, $10, $12, $15,000. So you could go and join them little straggling band that the media don't even like to cover and get a costume for $300 and two free for your family. But Akin and Sung and Hart, Louis Hart and Gerard Hart, they're not black. And the point I'm trying to raise here tonight is the only parts of Carnival that has not been taken over by other people are the parts of Carnival that have been failing forever. Home of the steel band, Calypso and Limbo. Calypso dead. It dead. I went with Lincoln Myers the year my boy sing, Kurt Allen sing Political Symphony. I wanted to be sitting there to hear him when he sing that song. Because he's the most brilliant calypsonian in a dying art. And I told him, I said, make the soca switch. I pay for 4 tickets to go into the grandstand. And I was the only person who paid for 4 tickets. They didn't know how to receive the money. Everybody else who was inside of there is PNM, Balize, card, cult members who get the complimentary because taxpayers' money pay for that. But the whole Calypso Monarch show is a bust and a loss and a drain. And it is why all the Calypso tents shut down. And the only ones that could exist getting PNM money. And it is why fellas like Croker and them have to work for CPEP and WASA and HDC to live. Because Calypso dead. Home of the steel band. If the state wasn't paying steel band men to play steel band for Panorama, there would be no Panorama. When you go to the North Stand, the biggest fete for Carnival, they're not there for the pan. There are a couple white boys and a couple red boys and some others who just talk like we rail no pan. Listen to the high, listen to the low, listen to the beat of the guitar as he introduces the second tenor and all the bullshit they want to talk. It's still organized noise. You don't want to hear that? It's a fact. Steel band is nice. It's a novelty. It's forever a novelty. It's for you land on the beach in a tropical island. There are palm trees behind you. People have layers around the neck and playing ding 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 ding. Oh, we're in the third world. It's the eternal symbol of the third world. And it will never go nowhere until somebody else take it. And then we will call them cultural appropriators and Columbusers. But Pandey give them a pan headquarters that park up out unbuilt, underbuilt, unfinished, with vines and rats opposite Trin City Mall. Pass and look at that. That should be a tourist destination. Come and see what Pandale, home of the steel band, Calypso and Limbo. The only time you ever hear anything about Limbo is if it make a novelty story on an American or British news channel and you see somebody, little girl child, skating she ass below a car or below a bed or below a fire pole. Alright, that's it. We done. Home of the steel band, Calypso and Limbo, but we kill all. But you're fighting Michael B. Jordan for Juve, but you've made a shit of it. And it is the only reason that people could say Juve belonged to black people is because it's chill. But I mean, all-inclusive reach in Juve, You know that, right? Red ants and cocoa devils and all is all inclusive. You're paying for your whole band experience. Now, I don't have to come down to color, but from the moment you mention Columbus and cultural appropriation, you're trying to move it to one sector of the country, and that's bullshit. Because without the rest of the country, Carnival dead long time ago. Without the rest of the country, Carnival dead, buried, long. Without names like Saldina, Hart, Barclay, Minshall, Lee Hyung, Carnival dead long time ago. So miss me with the bullshit. Completely miss me with it. The University of the West Indies needs to decide if its position in the education world is to make a mockery of the poor young people who had no choice but to go there for their degree. Producing jackasses like Road Rat and these clowns who think black rums matter more than black lives. And we can't keep pretending that cancel culture. We can't keep pretending that 39 flavors of gayness and homosexuality and gender. We can't keep pretending that those are the important issues for the critical thinkers of today. When the world is falling apart, our environment is about to kill us, where China is trying to take over the whole world, and we're fighting up with a man who just might, by using the name Juve, might have saved us from going completely down the toilet. Michael B. Jordan, on behalf of the rest of Trinidad and Tobago, we thank you for giving enough of a shit about us to name your rum Juve. Yeah? And Trinidad and Tobago, if you want to stop living in a latrine pit, start speaking out. Yes, there is risk. Yes, you may not get an HDC house, or you might get kicked out of the one that you're in. That's a possibility. Yes, you will lose your food card. Yes, you may not get a CPEP. Yes, your boss might get a phone call that say, fire that journalist because she jamming with too hard. Yes, we have that information too. We stick it up in, but we coming at it because I want to let you know we're going to defend her very, very much. Not like, anyway, stick a pin, Phil. Stick a pin. Pull that one back. Trinidad and Tobago, start to speak up, because the moment a critical mass of us have demonstrated to all who hold any public office that we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the tail no wag the dog no more. We understand how the shit works, and we will call the shot. We is the piper. We play, we call the tune. It is our taxes paying your salary, regardless of how humble. Be it ever so humble, it's $60 billion next year. And it has made that little Dwen salivate to spend it. So if you want to be in a country where we can actually work and get somewhere, stand up for your country. I see that you've been here on the live listening. You want to make a contribution? Paul? This is me. You want to make a contribution? I live right now. Would you like to make a contribution? You're live now. Everything that you say, they are going to hear you. So speak knowing that.
No. I just saying I'm chuckling because I enjoyed some of what you're saying. But I was just listening. I didn't know you to put me on live.
Well, when I pick up the phone to tell people to call, I didn't know you were still there. So I pick up the phone to tell people to call in. But as you hear, because...
Yeah, what would I... May I ask you something? What would I comment on? There's a political discussion in your...
No. This was just one of the things.
I'm a scientist. I'm talking medicine. So, what, you want me to comment on what you just said or the medicine?
You do you weigh right in, because at some point today I did a video, and it was called the Great COVID Hoax. And I'm not saying that there's not a COVID-19. There is, of course, a COVID-19 virus. But I was talking about where it came from and stuff like that. But you could talk about what we were just talking about. You could talk about what you want to talk about. Everybody keeps harassing me. When is your brother coming back on the show?
All right. Okay. Let me get to the point quick, because I didn't want to put long. If I could have a radio to listen to, because I was really enjoying it, because it's correct what you're saying. But I don't want to talk about that politics. And I'm really ashamed, based on what you're saying, as to what's going on with that matter, because I think this would have been a good opportunity to showcase Trinidad. But I want to pivot to the COVID issue. Can I do that?
Of course.
For 2 minutes?
No, you take your time, you talk your talk. You have as much time as you want.
Look, let me get straight to the point, because you see, I know Trinidad just had a lockdown, and I know you're going back into one again next weekend, and I know how much Trinidad, Tobagonians and the Caribbean have been suffering with this matter. So they have a couple of points I wanted to raise quickly. Now, here's the issue that the government's not telling people. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, the health minister, the medical officer of health, and all of those people who come in on the television and speaking to the public, they have very important information that's being omitted. And it's hurting me disastrously, because I know Trinidadians getting hurt and Trinidadians will get hurt. So let me just put certain things in point form. On another show, we could unravel it, but you need to get it out there. One, WHO today in Geneva put out a message, and I'm hoping that the WHO, the PAHO office in Trinidad and Tobago, would then relay this message to the government of Trinidad and Tobago tomorrow morning. The message is that children are not to be vaccinated. So I'll say it again. WHO, which I don't have much credibility or credence in right now, based on how they handle the pandemic with China. But this is one thing that I'll give them some credit and bravery, because they're cutting against the grain, and they came out and said, children are not to be vaccinated. Period. So understand that. That needs to go out into the public space immediately. So any Trinidadian Tobagonian right now thinking about vaccinating their child, the WHO, who you like to sing about, says no vaccination of your children at this time. Not with these vaccines. That's number one. Second point, what the government and the Shram and all of these people are telling Trinidadian Tobagonians is this. When you take these vaccines, the first shot and the second shot, the problem is that when you take the shots, the vaccine, the contents of the vaccine plunges your immune system flat. So when the government and the Prime Minister and whomever talk about you're not going to get such coverage or it may not work, and they're not telling it to you factually and actually the way it's correct. What is correct is this. When you take the shot, your immune system is shot. You have a condition called lymphopenia, neutropenia, etc., where you are highly susceptible to COVID, and you are highly susceptible to other opportunistic infections and reactivation of other latent infections, some very catastrophic and deadly, including COVID. And many people in the United States and Canada and Britain who have taken the shot have died because the immune system is shot for about 2 weeks to 3 weeks post-vaccination. The proper message should be this. If you are properly well informed of the benefits versus the risks, and you still make a decision to take the vaccine, which I advise against, but if you still make the decision to take the vaccine, which is your prerogative, then immediately on getting the shot, you need to isolate yourself fully. I'm not even talking about talking to your brother next door. You cannot be around anyone, and you cannot be in the environment because you have no immune response. And a simple infection outside will kill you. They're not telling it to you the way they should tell it to you. It is a potentially very catastrophic situation. People who get the shot are very vulnerable to get very, very sick. So you need to take this into account. And why I say that is this. If you are a young, healthy person and you're well, you need to ask yourself, well, wait, if I take proper precautions, and if I had low risk of illness from COVID, if I got COVID infection, why would I take a shot that could potentially kill me? I mean, I just don't understand people's thinking. So that's the second point. The third point is this. Right now, if you look at the situation in the United States and Canada, particularly the United States, the pandemic is winding down. we begin to close the pandemic out. Most of the states in America have arrived at herd immunity, population immunity. And we did that even without the vaccine. There's a lot of questions as to the effectiveness of the vaccines. And the most important thing that Trinidad and Tobagonians need to understand is this. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I support vaccinations. All the kids were vaccinated. I come from Trinidad. I get every possible vaccination ever was invented. And I still get in vaccinations. But these vaccines were not developed with the proper safety testing that a vaccine requires. It is very important to understand. People think that because the governments have put it out there, that the governments have safety tested it properly and regulatory approved it properly. That is a flat lie. A 1,000,000% lie. The vaccines have not been tested for safety. Period. No aspect of it. You are taking an investigational, experimental vaccine where we do not know how it is going to work in you long term. And now we have credible evidence, that the vaccine constituent, despite protein, that vaccine makes your cells produce, is an actual pathogen and a toxin itself. Meaning that we've done studies now where you inject someone with just a spike, without the ball of the virus, just a spike, and the spike itself causes traumatic vascular damage. It causes intense blood clotting and problematic bleeding. And now we have reports in young teenagers in America who turning up with a condition called myocarditis and pericarditis. So the heart muscles swelling, and it's a huge problem, and there are a lot of deaths from it. So I want no Trinidadian to be harmed by this pathogen and this pandemic, but many have died already. That's something that I can't say that we couldn't do anything about it. It's just the way things unfolded, and people had high-risk factors to begin with. See, what people don't understand is, this virus is not a lethal virus. It is only lethal to persons with risk factors. If you do not have the risk factors that it exploits, this virus is a walk in the park for you. And this is a very, very important point. You have to understand it this way. 99.8% of people who bump up into COVID, get infected, walk away. So let me use another number. Of every 1,000 people who get infected with COVID, 998 will have no problem. You might have no symptoms or mild symptoms. It might be just a bad cold or a low cold for you. Just 2 people going to have problems. And those 2 people of 1,000 are often very ill people. We have looked at the data in the United States, and anyone who is reported as being a child, not many children have succumbed to COVID, but those that have, we have found not one case, and I want to say it again, not one case where the child was not gravely ill with comorbid conditions prior. That would have killed them absent of COVID. So you see, the media and the governments are lying to the population, especially with these variants. These variants are not a problem. We've not seen a problem in the United States. We've not seen a problem in Canada the way the news is reporting it. And when people are uninformed and ill-informed, you are scaring the public into vaccinating their children and vaccinating themselves. So, that's what I wanted to say.
I want to ask you, please, if you could use any networks that you are a part of to please get an official document from the World Health Organization sent to the government of Trinidad and Tobago outlining the specifics of what you just said about children, because this is a country that is racing towards vaccinate to operate as a slogan, is trying to create, and I want to give you all the information, you can speak after, they're trying to create industries. The construction sector was told only contractors with vaccinated construction workers could go back out to work, and people need to eat, so they're gambling and they're taking the risk. So not only is the government operating people unfair, they're also ransoming their livelihoods to this vaccine and vaccinate to operate has spread into the concept of the schools, and people are reporting that schools are saying that children need to be vaccinated to come back to school. And all I'm asking you to do, if it's possible, you could send it to me so that I can make sure that it gets out to all the media, but have it addressed to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and carbon copy CC, the Minister of Health, that the World Health Organization advises that children are not to be vaccinated.
I just sent it to you.
Good. But I want to ask you again if you could send me one, if you could ask them to address one to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago so we could make that public.
Look, I sent you the official WHO document that they sent out to the whole world. It's in the media, so I just sent it to you. But Philip, look, the reality about it is Trinidadian and Tobagonians are some of the greatest people in the world. I come from Trinidad, my parents are Trinidadians, you are Trinidadian, Tobagonian, so it's my people. So of course I have the most love for
We're
them.
not Tobagonians. Paul, all of it is bullshit. Who born in Trinidad is Trinidadians. Who born in Tobago is Tobagonians. The countries barely attached to each other. Even our operation of the two states, Tobago as a state has a totally different governmental system. Tobago gets $2.4 billion every year, $2.5 billion every year to operate two constituencies, Tobago East and Tobago West, 56,000 people. Every other constituency in the country gets 120,000. The rest of the taxpayers paying that $2.4 billion. And it's all a bribe to keep the Tobago seats locked down for the People's National Movement. And that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. So when we say, Trinidad, don't leave out Tobago, why? I'm happy I can go to Tobago without a visa. But if tomorrow I can't go to Tobago, I'll go Barbados. I'm fed up of the bullshit now, and I'm going to call everything for the reality of what it is, and who vex could vex.
Yeah, but Philip, I understand what you're saying. So you might have some legitimacy to what you're saying on a discussion. But listen, the point I'm making is this. The people down there suffering because they're not well informed, because a lot of the information is being kept out to the public.
We're being deliberately misinformed, Paul. We're being deliberately misinformed. Yeah, we're being deliberately misinformed. That's what's going on. And today, that's why I did that video, The Great COVID Hoax. And a lot of the information that you and others like you, brave scientists, are putting out in the public space needs to go far and wide, because the numbers that exist in Trinidad with our open borders and our unexplainable, inexplicable spike still don't justify vaccinating the whole country. We're still talking about less than 1% of the population.
Of course, Philip, but more importantly, listen, in 2019, the year before this started, last February 2020, so the year before, WHO, with a lot of other countries, had done a pandemic preparation plan for the future. And in that plan, they looked at every single strategy that you could think about it, even what was tried now in the Caribbean, in Trinidad, and in every country, lockdown, school closures, masks, whatever. And they itemized each one and they examined them and looked at the evidence and the science. And all of them were junk, and all of them were categorized as dangerous and potentially harmful if you tried ever in a pandemic. The only two things that emerged that you must always only do in an epidemic, outbreak, or pandemic is the following. You improve hand washing in the society, and you isolate only symptomatic people. That is, once there's a strong clinical suspicion from a doctor, or yourself, you think, you know what, I think I get this. Or it is confirmed and you have symptoms. That's the person you isolate. You never ever quarantine or lock down or isolate an asymptomatic person. You never ever.
Well, I think they overplayed this, and I think that something bigger was here. I think something bigger, and I cannot wait. And I believe, and it is my personal belief, that COVID-19 is bio-warfare. I do not believe this is accidental. I do not believe the whole bat story bullshit.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I don't believe that. This is bio-warfare.
Well, yes. And I will tell you that from everything that we know, okay, we know that this emerged in the laboratory in China. We know it was a bioweapons program. We're not guessing, we know. And without me getting more into what I'm going to say next.
No, don't. You had to hold that back for now, but continue.
What I'm saying here is this. We have strategies such as improved hygiene and isolation only of symptomatic people, not well people. The lockdowns in Trinidad has been devastating and will devastate Trinidad. And this is what Trinidadians need to understand. Every time you look, from a Darwinian natural selection point of view, there's something called selection pressure that you put on a microbe. We always did. This is how it operates forever. COVID is not different, this virus. When you lock down, when you mask, when you socially distance, when you close schools, you are evading the pathogen. The pathogen
will grow stronger. It will grow stronger.
Yeah, it evolves and adapts to your actions as a society. Moreover, the vaccine program forces mutations of the pathogen. You never ever vaccinate. It is never heard of where you apply a vaccine during a pandemic. What is going on in Trinidad now, what they've done in other countries is insane and actually the most craziest nonsensical.
Paul, they terrorized the third world and they went at Trump. That was the game. They politicized COVID-19 with Donald Trump. Chinese money in Hollywood that pays the Tampax and lipstick bill for all the spokespersons, the George Clooney's and everybody talking shit. They are being paid to talk that shit. They don't know their ass from the elbow from the neighbor ass. But they went at Trump because that was the instruction. That's what they were being paid for. And all this information coming out. Now I'm telling people something. Everybody's an asshole. Just add water. Barack Obama was an asshole. Just add water. He's a well-spoken, properly. And I'm saying this. Everybody have asshole ways. Nobody perfect. Nobody is... I can't say Jesus Christ because even Jesus Christ had imperfections. So we all are human beings with imperfections. Was Donald Trump the best speaker? I want to believe that he was smart enough to understand the market he was playing with and he was mobilizing a voter base. In Trinidad and Tobago, with everything that you just told us, people could reach the point where they have to sell their children to eat and still vote PNM, you know. You ought to be able to reach them. People ask me, why do I talk the way I talk? And I talk the way I talk to reach people. They have no difficulty understanding the words coming out my mouth. And that's important if you try to inform, educate, and empower people. And I believe that what went on in the world as this COVID-19 was a first shot in an attempt to destabilize, if not take over the world. China has come away from COVID-19 the only financial beneficiary on the planet. How amazing is that?
When COVID became, the infection started to move, China closed air travel and any kind of travel from Wuhan to mainland China. And China closed any travel from mainland China into Wuhan. And then it allowed only travel from Wuhan to the rest of the world. You have to think about that. That's not me making something up.
No,
that's a fact.
No, that's a fact. We discussed that in the first time we spoke about it. We talked about that in March. When the northern Italy spike took place, it was direct flights from Wuhan, and nobody knew there was a Wuhan connection to northern Italy until we found out all of the fake brands of fancy luxury handbags and shoes and stuff that was made in Italy were made in Italy in Chinese factories straight from Wuhan. That was the connection.
There are a couple of points. I began too political, but there are a couple of points I want to
I am political, and everything for me is politics now.
Listen, to keep a train of thought. One, children in Trinidad and Tobago must not receive these vaccines. I am asking you now. I am probably one of the more informed people globally.
Hold on 1 second for me. Hold on for 1 second. A woman named Christine Sucharan just said Jesus was without sin. I want to tell Christine something. Jesus may have been conceived without sin, but you have to decide if turning over tables and whipping moneylenders and throwing them out the temple is not a sin, because then we can start to do all that too. Learn and read your Bible and read it to understand. Christ didn't come to prove any of those such things to people. We've created a different version of reality. But read your Bible. Sorry about interrupting you. Go on.
My goodness. Yes, Philip. Back again to what I was saying. I am asking Trinidad and Tobagonians, please get informed. Try and read. You don't have to read too deeply. Just scratch the surface. There are too many issues, principally safety issues with these vaccines. We are asking for a pause, for you to stop, wait. There are safer vaccines actually on the horizon, not these vaccines that came out. They came out after 3.5 months of research. They cannot take place of 12 to 15 years, the normal time that a vaccine needs to be properly followed up to assess safety signals. That's number one. I am again saying, do not give your children these vaccines. They will be set up potentially for lifelong autoimmune illnesses, all sorts of conditions that we cannot exclude today. We do not know what will happen. Had we done the research, we could then make a definitive statement that this may not happen, this would not happen. But today we can't. That's number one. Number two, what people need to understand is this. There's a kind of a number that turns up in a lot of the research in a lot of certain areas, a 20% number. And why 20% is very, very important is this. In that cruise ship called the Diamond Princess in the beginning, there was a cruise ship that stayed outside in the ocean that had an outbreak when they started early in 2020.
Yes.
And that cruise ship really was the petri dish. And what happened was, of about 3,500 people, roughly 20% were infected. At 20%, the virus did not go through all 3,500 of the passengers, only 20%. And why I'm bringing that number to you up is this. In our research, whether in the dish, so in vitro, in vivo, anywhere we do the research right now, and we look at people's blood today, SARS-CoV-2 survivors, people who've cleared the virus, recovered, what we are finding is that approximately, before we thought it was just between 20 to 50%, but now we actually have some new research showing it could be as high as 80%. 80% of the population have an ability to stave off SARS-CoV-2. In other words, you have immunity there. And it has to do with prior exposure to other coronaviruses in your life. Milder coronaviruses, particularly common cold coronaviruses. It seems that your body, your immune system develops long-term immunity, T-cell immunity, etc. So that here's the key to do with these vaccines. You do not vaccinate someone who has existing immunity. That's a potentially catastrophic situation, because in the presence of the vaccine, if you have antibodies already to other coronaviruses, or you even had SARS-CoV-2, to tell people who've had SARS-CoV-2, COVID, and you recovered, that you should be vaccinated is the most insane statement. I cannot believe public health in Trinidad and Tobago would tell the population that, because all of the best science we are seeing is that's a catastrophic situation.
Paul is deliberate, Paul. You're pretending that it's accidental. You're pretending that they're misinformed.
Listen, people who have recovered from COVID, or people who have immunity to COVID, must not be vaccinated. We have the evidence, we have the research. I don't understand Parashram and the Ministry of Health, the people, they don't read the science.
It's deliberate, Paul. It is deliberate. It is deliberate, and it is why Keith Rowley has started to use the term follow the science. These people are very good at misinformation and junking the narrative. So if he say follow the science, you Trinidadians stop at the headline. Trinidadians don't read the story 98% to the public. Take the headline. So if they Rowley say it, but I'm telling you, it is deliberate misinformation.
But if he says follow the science, if you do follow the science, nobody will touch these vaccines. Right now we have 6,000 registered deaths in the CDC's database due to the vaccine. People die between 0, 1, 2, 3 days post-vaccine. And we estimate that just capturing 10% is actually more 60,000 people just in the United States that have died from taking the vaccine. This is not a joke. This is a real situation. And the reality about it is this. To follow the science, well then you cannot vaccinate most of Trinidad and Tobago. Because I guarantee you, many people, tens of thousands of Trinidad and Tobagonians already have immunity and antibodies and T-cell immunity to COVID. They have already been infected before and recovered easily with no symptoms. If you go and throw the vaccine on top of that, we have conditions called immune enhancement pathogenic priming, where your immune system will be tripped off and triggered, and your immune system will violently attack you and kill you. This is not a joke. Trinidadians and Tobago need to read the science. Don't listen to the public health and the Ministry of Health. You need to go on the internet.
I want to ask you a question, right? Are you, now I'm going to say this, and you're going to answer me yes or no. You don't have to go deep into it. But you have a lot of experience now guiding and advising treatment regimes for lots of people who have had COVID-19. Since the last time you and I spoke, people have been harassing me to ask if you have any intention of publishing as a guideline to public health officials worldwide so that they can read it and be informed themselves. Do you have any intention of publishing the step-by-step regime that you used on all of these people that you have helped recover?
Philip, what do you mean regime? You mean drug treatment?
Yes. The whole program.
We published many papers. It's already there.
You're answering me without answering what I'm saying. So I'll say it again. People are asking me, they're not going to read the whole paper. What they want to know is if you say that these drugs work at this stage, these drugs work at that stage, not telling them what to take, but telling them what to guide, like how the pharmaceutical companies say, ask your doctor about this and ask your doctor about that. Give them something that they could ask the person treating them about. Will you be willing to publish something like that?
We've published something like that in many different forms. What you're trying to tell me is Trinidadians, where they can't understand the scientific written papers, what it is you want. We haven't written clearly.
You know what? All right. We'll stick a pen, you and I will talk about that off air.
No, Philip.
No, we'll talk about it off air. I asked it twice.
Simple. No, Philip, the way you say that, now you want to get me upset, and I
don't get upset. I'll hang up the phone on you. Don't call and buff me on my phone. I want you to hear this.
Just listen.
No, before you say just listen, hear this, please. Like here's my big brother, you know.
There's a 2-week window of opportunity that the medical profession understands, and where the problem comes in and where they've been hands off, and many people died needlessly. There's a 2-week window between when you are now infected and you start symptoms, right there from the first, second day. That 14-day period is the 2-week window where if you get in there and administer antiviral drugs, those people, the risk of hospitalization or death is cut by about 90%. Those people will not be going to hospital, and the chances of their dying is dramatically reduced. The further you wait, the more days that pass. For example, if somebody got infected and they started to have symptoms, fever, cough, etc., all of the preliminary symptoms of COVID, and you get to like the 8th, 9th day, and then you decide to start treating, the treatment will not be as effective as if you started on the first and second day. But what we have, though, is the clear evidence from people who've recovered that once you use the antivirals right away as the person is infected and symptoms begin, that you have a very strong chance to resolve the illness and the person walking away fine. And that's the key. And that we've published that in many different ways. We've published it as treatment, early treatment, and we've published it as prophylaxis too, which is preventative, meaning that there is a program that even if you're not infected, but you're in a high-risk situation, meaning you're going about your work, your life, but COVID's still operating out there in your environment, but you want to make sure you protect yourself, you don't want no vaccine, we have a prophylaxis program where you take these medications, and what it does is it saturates the tissues in your body, and it front-loads you, so that if you get infected, you already have drug inside of the system, and it will start working immediately. So as a prophylaxis is also very, very effective. So we have that out there. So when you say publish it, I don't know if it's a paper directly.
No, you know what I'm vexed for? You have people writing on the thread now, listen to your big brother. You like stupidness, you know, but I'm taking it. Hear me. You said it again, and yes, the information exists. Send me that paper that has that information, the prophylaxis and the regime, as to what you recommend people should do, so I can get it, because they keep harassing me. People that see me in the grocery, they see me in the drugstore, they pull me over on the street. Tell your brother, publish the thing. You ask if Trinidad's lazy. Yes, you're from Trinidad, you know we're lazy. They want the label to be 1 page long. So if you had the time to write down what you just say, you could. It's on you, it's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay.
Cool.
I will do that for you, Philip.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have them buffing me and telling me, listen to me, big brother. They're laughing at me.
No, to help my people in Trinidad and Tobago, I will write that for you, Philip.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Right, and I want to tell you this. I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago that if my brother, Paul Alexander, was the Minister of Health in this country, the last death we would have experienced of COVID-19 would have been the last death that took place before his feet touched the ground. My brother Paul is very well versed in this thing. Yes?
Listen.
Advocating for you to get a big walk on blue lights.
Listen, I am an international global expert in COVID. And I tell you a fact. This is how I am recognized. But I need you to understand something. Yeah? They have many hundreds, if not thousands, of very good doctors.
Absolutely. 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 And I don't understand why we, but of course.
Their hands are tied. Their hands are tied and they're scared. They're scared about the regulatory. They're scared about the Ministry of Health. They're scared from the government that will punish them if they use their clinical judgment and be brave. Because that is what the dictum that has gone across the world. And to be honest with you, in this particular situation, Trinidad needed a much better run Ministry of Health in terms of responding. Even if leave your existing Ministry of Health and all those people there, but get another set of experts who know what they're doing. Because from the outside...
Now you're being politically correct. You gotta fire this bunch. They know what they're doing. The Minister of Health is a freaking pharmacist. You needed somebody who understands pandemics.
Listen, in my position internationally, I can't speak like you right now.
I can. This needs a political response to end all of that bullshit that you're talking about. The doctors need people to stand behind them and blow wind in their sails. They need to be able to stand up and speak their truth. And they need people with a political voice to stand up and give them that power.
Yes, because doctors know how to treat people and they know how to save these people. Even the ones that have died already in Trinidad, they could have been saved. But doctors have been prevented from using their clinical discretion and the authorities to prescribe and to treat their patients the way they know it should be done. These doctors in Trinidad, they are good people, good, strong doctors.
We have good doctors.
A lot of wrong things have happened here. Okay, so don't be hard on the medical profession.
Not at all. I know for a fact we have fantastic doctors. I've said so repeatedly. We have doctors in Trinidad that are the best in the world. The Isaac Hayes Foundation for Kidney, Bruno Mitchell Ophthalmology. We have doctors who excel in their field, in their profession globally. So I would never, ever put God out my thoughts and say that. What I am saying is that we have a bunch of junior doctors being led by a pharmacist representing this country and leading us through a pandemic. And that is madness.
agree with you. It's actually a very
Dr. Tim Gopi Singh has called for an inquiry into our COVID deaths. Our deaths per million is among the highest in the world, and we need an explanation if negligence had anything to do with that. But I appreciate your calling and lighting up my video again on fire tonight and have people laughing at me and saying, listen here, big brother. But I want to tell you all, that's the original PEA, you know. He's a year older than me. That's Paul Elias Alexander. And I keep telling you all, there are good people from Trinidad who could fix all the problems in Trinidad. Paul, you want to say anything else before you go?
No, I really want to ask Trinidadian and Togolese again to try and trust yourselves and make a very serious risk management decision here. Everything must be balanced, the benefits versus the harms of any decision you make in life. Not just these vaccines, it could be anything you do. How does this benefit me? What are the costs involved and the risks? In this particular case, given the potential harms we've seen in these vaccines across the world, listen, there are 15 or 16 countries in Europe that pulled the AstraZeneca vaccine, not because they were insane, it's because they were seeing the blood clots and the bleeding irregularities. So these are and the mRNA vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer actually have more bleeding and clotting risk. So the reality is people need to look at their risk profile. Ask themselves a simple question when people try to push vaccines down on you. Ask yourself, what's my age? Okay, well, I'm 40. Let's say I'm 40. I'm 40. Self, am I a healthy 40-year-old? Yeah, I have no other medical conditions. So you're not sick with anything. Self, no. I'm a normal, healthy person. But you're not a candidate for the vaccine. I'll be very blunt. You are a candidate to live your life normally, take reasonable precautions, wash your hands, etc. When the society open, you will get. If COVID is still circulating, by then it would have mutated into a very mild, non-consequential pathogen, just like how seasonal influenza, etc. is. This virus is going to live with us forever. This is not going to go away. You could never get rid of COVID. Never. So, the reality is you need to ask yourself some common sense questions. Well, if I'm young, reasonably, even if I'm like a 50 and I'm in good health, what do I need the vaccine for? Because the vaccine has potential harms. I need to lay the benefits of it down and the risk. And if it gives me no benefit, yet there's potential risk, and it's skewing the scale towards the risk side, but then I have to place more value on avoiding that vaccine. It's as simple as that. Don't just go and take it because your neighbor taking it and your homie taking it. No, because it has serious long-term implications. Because you can't take the vaccine out of you. If this vaccine really has bad poison pills, as we know it does, then you're going to have a problem the rest of your life. We are asking you, don't set your children up for that. Hold on.
The juice not worth the squeeze. The juice not worth the squeeze, they say. Paul, I want to tell you thanks a lot for coming. These people love you dearly, and thanks a lot for sharing what you shared with us tonight. We talk later, you and I.
All right, bye.
On this show, with me, you talk to professionals. A couple nights ago, we spoke to somebody from the flying squad. We're talking about national security, drug trafficking, guns. Anytime that I tell you that we form a government, in 5 years, water for all 24/7, education system that leaves no child behind. I'm talking about 20,000 prestige school placings every transition. We would outlaw and cancel SEA. All schools would become 10-year schools. Our public health system would be built on delivering emergency care, which is the #1 need of a public health system, in under 10 minutes. Bring it to you and take you to it, half and half. We will make sure that there is a social development master plan that lifts the at-risk and the hotspot communities out of violence. Our national security policy will be built around something we call the maritime security wall, a repurposing of oil barges and using things like drones. In the United States of America, there's a drone program where people sitting in America playing video games could bomb the crap out of Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq. You could have sonar boys in the sea responded to by unmanned aerial drones, and you could lock down the nation's borders tomorrow. Tomorrow they are lying to you. Cho Chong lied. Fitzgerald Hines is lying. Keith Rowley is lying. They are lying to you. You could do that. Listen now. We could make sure that everything works in this country. You have an opportunity. You seeing it. You have to literally be telling yourself to dumb yourself down. And I want to tell you something that's coming next week, Thursday. Next week, Thursday. We are launching something called the Activist Council. Next week, Thursday. Every Thursday night from 8 till 10. 2 hours long. You will hear more from my brother as our medical expert. You will hear from Vernon De Lima, our legal criminal law expert. You will hear from Stephen Rees, Candace Barrett on women's rights issues. She's the PRO of the Candlelight Movement and she's an attorney at law. You'll be hearing from Winston Ragu. You'll be hearing from Inshan Ishmael. This coming Thursday, we are putting a call out to Suzette Lauer and Gary Aboud. If you all really want to be part of the lifting and transformation of Trinidad and Tobago, my number is 682-2110. I want the voters of the PNM and the UNC to pay attention to what is starting Thursday. This is a baby step. This is Avengers Assemble. We are going to bring to you every Thursday between 8 and 10 a functional cabinet that is going to be dealing with the issues of the day and the week in review. You will hear for yourself. You will have an opportunity to WhatsApp messages or to call in if time allows. But what is going to happen in the Activist Council launching next week, Thursday, is going to be a small earthquake in this country as we move to the next level to organize, inform, educate, and empower. Every time you turn this show on, the information you get is fact. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, have to deliberately choose to be stupid and foolish and vote race and vote yourselves into the hands of the corrupt who manipulate these political parties. Or you could tell yourself that after this COVID-19 experience, after the failure and the collapse of the government and the complete disappearance of the opposition, that you have to know by now, because what is going to be our reality post-COVID-19 is a stark and dire world. Not everybody who stepped down in a lockdown have a job to go back to. Not everybody who stepped down in a lockdown could open back their companies. We have a country that is against the wall and beaten badly by failed parliamentarians. Failed. They failed you. The parliament. Tell the UE people, parliament and next cultural appropriation. French, go in there and parley. Go in there and talk. Talk the people business. Where we get together and talk the people business and stand up for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It's not a bullshit show. It's not a place for you to come and measure and twirl and preen. This is too much bullshit now. We need a country where the public looks to its government with pride and hope and trust. You do not have that now, and you do not have that for the opposition, and that is a fact. People are going to tell you. Brian Stone called me today and tell me, Phil, you know, I love you, I trust you, I like what you're doing, but I want to tell you, third parties can't survive. I said, Brian, the only difference between you and me is that you have a good head and a strong voice, but you're lazy. If you weren't lazy, you would keep fighting. I grew up in a world, in a time when women's rights has never been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution, even though it was written in the 60s. And they're still fighting that fight now. I grew up in a time when it was said, a black man will never be the president of America. And Barack Obama get 2 terms. All right, and then an orange man follow him. But seriously, joke and fun aside, This notion that we stuck in PNM UNC because that's all we've ever known is to say to me that Trinidadians are too stupid to learn. And if Trinidadians are too stupid to learn, we will end up with the consequences of that. But trust me when I tell you this, they are not coming back from it. Right now, these names I call, these are people who could pick up and take their possessions and leave and go and live their lives in functional countries, who still, victimization aside, bullshit aside, old talk aside, nasty talk from the road rats and them aside. I was saying something to you all earlier when we hit the 1,000. And I was saying, Alan Karim, who's a spokesperson for the UNC on social media. And Alan and I have crossed swords, you all know that. But Alan posted his dad passed away. And I shared it virally. Because I think that Alan, who, like Brian Stone and others stuck in the UNC, are patriots of the country, want to rid us of the Balize cult and have trusted the United National Congress to do that, even though the United National Congress has failed us repeatedly. They're afraid to step away from that. They're afraid and thinking that a third party gives a PNM a better chance. That are done. We need to pull PNM support out of the PNM. We need to pull the PNM voters away. If we're not campaigning in Beatham to tell the people of Beatham, you have to know you deserve better. And if not you, your children. Your children running wild in a country where they have nothing for them. And they're playing in the road and they're playing in the drain. And if they survive that, they have a life of squalid desperation and violence faces them. Even if you're too stupid to fix yourself, do it for your children. I too stupid to fix myself. All of this I do. I became a politician when my son was born. I was a nightclub developer. All for me it was just about enjoy life. And I became a father. And when I became a father, my whole life changed. I am a totally different person to the person I was prior to October 2nd, 1993, when my son was born. Prior to that, my whole life was party business. Everybody could tell you that. But to a parent, you must want better for your children. This is what Alan Karim shared today, for those of you who didn't read it. This is from Alan Karim. His dad passed. He said, my dad passed away. I talked to him for his birthday on Thursday, June 17, 2021. And he indicated to me that he was having fever, but was feeling okay otherwise. Friday, June 18, 2021, he suddenly developed difficulties breathing. An ambulance came and took him to Shoguana's Health Center. They tested him for COVID and the test came back positive. They also discovered a blood clot in his lungs, which was causing the difficulty in breathing. He needed emergency treatment, but Cuba had no empty beds, and they sent him to Accident and Emergency Mount Hope. Saturday, June 19, 2021, he remained all day in Accident and Emergency at Mount Hope, no treatment, waiting on a bed to empty at Cuba to be transferred. Sunday, June 20, 2021, he remained all day in Accident and Emergency Mount Hope, no treatment, waiting on a bed to empty at Cuba to be transferred. I spoke to him on Sunday, and his last words to me were, I will talk to you later. I am stifling. This morning I got the news he passed away. I wouldn't have another chance to talk to him again. And then you have these criminals and liars coming on TV every day, lying about how good they're handling things. Meanwhile, they're killing your family. My dad may have had COVID, but COVID didn't kill him. Negligence and lack of proper treatment killed him. Alan Karim. Brother, I read those words And it was like stabbing me in my heart. I read those words knowing that it doesn't have to be like this. I read those words knowing that if my brother was the Minister of Health in Trinidad and Tobago, your father would still be alive. And half of the 737 that dead under this crazy regime would still be alive. I read it and it hurt me, Alan. I felt it for you, brother. I felt your pain. And I want you to hear me say this, Alan Karen. Besides condolences to you and your whole family for the loss of your dad, I want you to hear me say this. Your name is now on the list of people that I am fighting for. You must get justice, brother. You must get justice for that. Keith Rowley's government is criminally incompetent. We are watching a looting. Trinidad and Tobago has used its election machinery to put a demon horde to loot this country. Next week, Thursday, the Activist Council, write that down, you know, write it down. Next week, Thursday from 8 o'clock, the Activist Council will be doing its inaugural presentation. We will be discussing the issues of the day. Next week, Thursday, we expect to have as guests Stefan Rees, Candice Barrett, Winston Ragu, Inshan Ishmael, Vernon DeLima. We may also have Felicia Holder. We're waiting on a response from Ian Allen. We're waiting on a response from Gary Aboud and Suzette Lauer. And I want to say this to all of those who have the ability to contribute to the change that we are mounting. Not only is the door open, the door is off its hinges. We took down the door frame and break out the wall that the door frame was holding on to. Walk yourself right in and take your place. Claim your space. Nobody's nobody's boss. We getting together to, because the Bible says one could send 1,000, two could send 10,000. When we reach 10, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Jesus Christ, some of them quoting. Jesus Christ says, silence me and even the stones will speak out. 2021 years later, he's been proven right. I'm saying to you, and it's not just me, like my brother just said, it's not just him. They have a lot of good, strong, powerful, capable people in this world. But you have to stand with them and blow wind in their sails. You have to stand up for them. Like this journalist, I want her to hear me. I wanted to hear me. I will make a big noise in your name, girl. Give me the permission to do it. What was done to you was criminal corruption. I'm waiting to hear from the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm waiting to hear from your brothers and sister journalists. I want to see them down pens, take off the microphone while they're on air and say, if that could happen to one, it could happen to all. Free speech is only free if it's free for everybody. And I will say this again. I may not agree with everything you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it. Going forward, Trinidad and Tobago, we've been molested. We've had different versions of massa, oppressor, colonizer, and shit snake governments. Aren't you just fed up of that? Aren't you? Wouldn't you like your aging parents and your growing children to wake up on a morning when the world where Trinidad and Tobago is concerned is different? Where's a smaller government but capable people dedicated who have shown by their commitment for free. This is for free. The work that these people do, what Winston Ragu and Suzette Lauer and them do, they do not only for free, they do it at risk of victimization. And I said before, I want you all to hear me say it again. People like me and Winston and me and Inchan, me and Ian, we had crossed swords, we had a problem in the past. I said this. What Inchan called the Andrea effect, it will never change for me. This is my solemn vow. I commit to this. Who I am friends with politically, I am friends with for life. Me and Inchan Ishmael is my brother now. Ian Allen, Stefan Rees, those are my brothers. The door is, there's no door. All of those. Gary Aboud, Gary Aboud, it is time for you to do like I did and put aside friends and family. If you really want a better Trinidad and Tobago, join the Avengers, join the ranks. The Activist Council is launched next week, Thursday, and from that Thursday, every single Thursday, you will meet new names and new faces of the capable and the willing. We will bring national security experts. We will bring water experts, electricity experts, social development experts. We will bring people to talk to you about 10-year education that leaves none of our 20,000 children per year. We have 200,000 children in our education system, and we're failing 180,000 of them. We need a better country, and the only time that's going to happen, the only time that is going to happen is when the people of Trinidad and Tobago decide to put country first. Not one foot in a camp and another foot in another. My brother Paul Elias Alexander will be a part of that activist council. Every time we have to talk public health, his voice is the voice you will hear. We will bring the professionals, the capable, the competent. We will talk to you in ways that you could understand and walk away feeling empowered. You want a better country. Start standing for it now. Be prepared. People telling me, Phil, when you walk in next time I walk in. The day the state of emergency done, the next day I walk in. I promise you that. Until tomorrow, with all the love in my heart, stay safe, Trinidad.